Deep in the ruins of one of the world's oldest cities, there's this structure that's had archaeologists scratching their heads for a century. It's a massive brick-lined pool that predates the famous Roman baths by millennia. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible mystery of the Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro.
Okay, so get this. We're talking about a feat of engineering from the Bronze Age, around 2500 BCE. This isn't just some old pool. It's considered the very first public water tank in all of human history. The sheer scale of it and just how well it's been preserved, it's absolutely astounding. And that brings us to the big question, right? What was it actually for? I mean, at first glance, it looks like a swimming pool. But the people of the Indus Valley civilization built this for a very specific and maybe even sacred reason. So what was it? Well, the answer is hidden in the details of how it was built and used.
Now, before we can even get to the why it was built, we really need to appreciate the what and the where, because this structure is truly a wonder of the ancient world. So you'd find this bath in what's called the Citadel, the city's raised fortified center in Mohenjo-Daro, which is in modern-day Pakistan. And this wasn't some backwater town. It was one of the largest and most advanced cities of its time, a contemporary of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia.
All right, let's do a little virtual tour. Let's break down how this incredible structure was actually put together. I mean, for its time, the design is just remarkably sophisticated.
Okay, let's talk size. The tank itself measures about 12 meters, or around 40 feet long. It's about 7 meters, or 23 feet wide.
And at its deepest point, it's 2.4 meters, so nearly 8 feet deep. Yeah, this was a serious structure, definitely not just a paddling pool.
So, how did you get in? Well, there were these two wide staircases, one on the north side and one on the south. And here's a really cool detail. If you look at the edges of the stairs, archaeologists found these little sockets that they're pretty sure once held wooden planks or treads. And this place was way more than just a tank in the ground. I mean, at the foot of the stairs there was a small ledge so people could move along the edge without getting all the way into the main pool. It was surrounded by these brick colonnades, had multiple doorways, and there was even a whole series of rooms right next to it. This was an entire complex. But the real genius of the Great Bath, the thing that just blows my mind, isn't just its size. It's how it was constructed. This thing was engineered to last for millennia. And guess what? It did. Just stop and think about that for a second. How do you build a massive underground tank thousands of years ago with no modern materials and make sure it doesn't leak? Well, turns out they had a brilliant solution.
They used this really sophisticated 3-layer system. First, you've got these finely fitted bricks that were laid on their edge, creating a super tight, solid foundation. Then, they sealed all the joints with a strong gypsum plaster. And for the final, ultimate seal, they coated the entire thing with a thick layer of natural tar.
And that right there just shows you how advanced their knowledge of materials really was. That natural tar is called bitumen, and it's basically a waterproof super sealant. Their neighbors in Mesopotamia were using it for everything from boat building to construction, so the builders of Mohenjo-Daro knew exactly how to use it to make their tank perfectly watertight. So, okay, we have this masterfully engineered, totally waterproof tank. But this brings us right back to our main question. Was it for swimming or something else entirely? All right, here is the critical clue, the piece of the puzzle that changes everything. Archaeologists have found outlets to drain the bath, but they've never found any inlet drains, not one. The water would have been filled manually, probably from a nearby well, and maybe topped up with rainwater. And you know what that suggests? The water wasn't changed very often, meaning this was used for special occasions, not for daily recreation. And that single detail, the lack of inlets, leads us to the prevailing theory. This wasn't a community pool. It was almost certainly a sacred ritual space. In fact, many scholars see this as a kind of ancient ancestor to the ritual bathing tanks you find in later South Asian religions, suggesting a really deep-rooted tradition. Most agree the Great Bath was used for special religious functions, where water played a key role in purifying the bathers. It was a place for spiritual renewal. So, when we look at the Great Bath today, we're not just looking at ancient bricks and mortar. We're seeing the echoes of a lost civilization. It's really a window into the soul of the Indus Valley people. This structure tells us they valued community, they valued ritual, and they had a deep spiritual connection to water as a purifying element.
It speaks volumes about a highly organized society with shared beliefs.
The Great Bath is a monumental answer to some of our questions, but it also raises a whole bunch of new ones. I mean, the Indus script, hundreds of unique symbols found on seals and tablets, is still undeciphered, so their full story remains locked away. It just makes you wonder, what other secrets about this incredible civilization are still buried out there, just waiting for us to uncover?